Good? Cool. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Apologies for the technical difficulties we had earlier, but hopefully we're all set, ready to go. My name is Joe Spence. I'm the Executive Director of Space Apps NYC. We're a nonprofit grassroots organization founded in 2012 to host events such as the Space Apps Challenge, which is coming up this weekend. I'm sure all of you know about it. If you don't, spaceapps.nyc, learn about it, chat with us afterwards. This is really what this meetup is all about. The Space Apps Challenge is an international hackathon, which is really a problem-solving competition. It's not just for software engineers. We get designers, teachers, we get filmmakers, students, writers, anybody who wants to be involved in NASA and problem solving, but doesn't really know how to break into the industry. I'm a software engineer and I still didn't know how to get involved with space until I found the Space Apps Challenge. And the whole point is to get everybody together, form teams, and work over a weekend collaboratively to solve problems posed by NASA in space exploration. For the past couple years, it's been run by the Earth Science Mission Directorate by NASA, one of the NASA agencies, which means that it's been an Earth science theme. So what that means is we use open data, and I'll get to that in a minute, open satellite data collected by NASA and NOAA, to solve problems here on Earth, such as deforestation or famine or transportation, water supply, a lot of different things that we have to tackle as a species. And NASA is really one of the only organizations, or one of the more popular ones, I would say, that is poised to tackle those challenges because they have such a large mission, which is really to explore the universe. So we're all here because we love problem solving. We all love the scenes from Apollo 13 when everyone throws into a room and solves a problem. Otherwise, all the astronauts fly off into space, like that kind of thing. It's not as there's not that much danger in the Space Apps Hackathon, but it's just as fun, I promise. So let me actually show you what some of our past hackers from this past year say about the hackathon. Change everything. Joel, are you getting that? 2, 1, 0, all engine running. I'll take it from the
I mean, NASA is attached to it. Who doesn't want to participate or work with something NASA related?
I already had been to several hackathons, and I thought Space Apps was the perfect combination of the cutting edge software development and the APIs out there connecting to the next grand frontier, which is space. So it's really exciting.
I feel really happy, proud of myself that I decided to come, wake up at 6:30 to get here and hack all day. I feel really proud that I'm doing this and I'm only 10.
We have the good fortune of getting a diverse range of skill sets on our team, as well as age ranges. We have a high school student who's coding our front end, and we've got some very experienced software engineers.
There's so many diverse groups of people that come here with their own mindsets. So I feel that's perfect with space because there's so much to discover.
Just because you're young doesn't mean that you have less ability than others. Even though you may feel like you have less potential because you're younger, it doesn't mean that you're not capable of the same things. I have a lot of kids in my school that say, oh, I just get in the way because I don't know how to code. But the point of coming to hackathons is learning that you won't be in the way and learning that you can code.
I went to space camp when I was a kid. I have been into NASA and space. I saw a shuttle launch when I was a kid. So it was really cool for me to be here and see the stuff that folks are working on.
People can come here with virtually no programming experience or haven't seen any line of code before, and you got to realize that it's not really about coding as it is about just a really great hub for ideas and entrepreneurship. If you have a great idea, come here and see what you can do.
Go get up, hack. It's really fun.
So I don't know if you could tell, but that was actually shot here. We had our hackathon in this space April of 2017.
Last year.
Yes. They do it every spring, but then they changed the dates this year, so now all my math's off. I'll get it one of these days. So this year we're hosted in the Lower East Side Girls Club. Dave here from the Girls Club will be up later to give his pitch for the Girls Club, and we also have a boot camp coming up, really cool boot camp using a open source visualization library, which you guys will probably be interested in using. Last year we hosted here. It was actually the opening for the Space Apps Next Gen Innovation Lab. I don't believe there's any representatives here to do their pitch, but they're a open space for innovation. If you want to work on a startup or develop a project, you come here. It's a really nice space to work at. We've been partnering with them to host multiple events, the Space Apps Challenge. With Women's Sphere and Hannah Payne, we hosted the Expanse season finale party here. It's a really great TV show on Amazon. I highly recommend it. But we host multiple events. We host more than just the Space Apps Challenge. Space Apps NYC is here to bring together the tech and space communities in New York. There is a large tech community, as I'm sure you're all aware, in New York. It's one of the few places where you could just live and not worry about finding a software engineering or an engineering job in general. Not many people, though, know that this is also a space hub. Whenever you think of space, you think of the Space Flight Center, either in Houston or Florida, or Ames out in California, JPL. There's nothing really going on in New York. Well, actually there is. There's the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies that actually investigate Earth science and develop tools to help combat climate change. That's up in Columbia. There is a Final Frontier Designs. They're down in Brooklyn, and they develop space suits. I didn't know that last year. That was pretty cool. Honeybee Robotics is based in the Brooklyn Naval Yard, and they have actually been building robots that go out into space and rove around on planets or orbiters around planets, explore comets. They've been doing that for about 20 years now. There's so many, and Northrop Grumman, obviously in Long Island, built the lunar lander and the Apollo missions. There's so many people here that are interested in space, and there's so many people here that we can introduce them to, and that's what we want to do. We want to bring tech enthusiasts who are interested in space together with the space experts. And so you can create new things, work on challenges like Space Apps. And so these are a few photos of people at the last Space Apps Challenge. Like they said in the video, it's really open for anybody. I was a hacker in 2015 before I became an organizer. When I was on my team, this was at Microsoft, I was the only programmer. There was a project manager, there were 2 designers, there was an astrophysicist, and we really relied on him to make a really cool project. But that just goes to show you that it's not just the programmers. You can have a team of rock star programmers, and they may not make the best project. If you give enough programmers all the time and resources in the world, they're not going to build anything. So if you have project management skills, if you can rein in people and keep people on track, the demonstrations, the presentations, that's really what's going to get you. That's really what's going to get you in the end. Thank you, Julie. So it's really open for everybody, regardless of your skill sets. We will be going into an introduction into the Open NASA datasets. They're just one tool for you to use in the challenge. We also have the Intro to Open Space Bootcamp happening later this week, and we will be going over some other tools at the Friday orientation event, which you all should have gotten an email for. We do have videos up on YouTube for Intro to Google Cloud. Google Cloud is one of our sponsors, and they also have a great platform and set of tools for you to use for web application development, also machine learning and artificial intelligence. It's a lot of out-of-the-box tools, so you don't have to have extensive background in machine learning or AI in order to use these tools to enhance your projects. And we will have mentors on site and online throughout the weekend to help you if you have any questions or need help getting started or anything like that. So a little bit more background on the Space Apps Challenge. Like I said, it was created in 2012 as an innovation project by NASA. The goal of which was, again, to connect citizen scientists or citizens with NASA scientists. NASA comes up with about 20 challenges every year. Those are all posted on the website. And they engage with the larger community to work on these challenges. This past year, we had 25,000 people worldwide. We started off, I think, the first year in 2012 with, it was low thousands, I believe. Very small number. We've been growing every year. This year, we're on track to break that number. 187 cities and 69 countries. I'm in a local leads Slack channel, and there are hundreds of people in this channel who are creating events all around the world. Brazil, Tokyo, Ghana, Dublin, there's Silicon Valley. Huntsville, Alabama is going to be this year's main stage. Go online, check them out. They got really cool photos of their events. So this year, it's growing every year, and you get to work with all these people. There is an online community where you can engage, interact with anybody. All these different locations, including us, will have speakers at their events. You can ask anybody any questions. You can form teams with anybody. We highly encourage, if you're at a location, you form a team with other people at your location. But if you also work remotely, you can work on really anyone's team. A friend of mine in 2015 had people all over the United States and I believe Asia on their team. They just remoted in and they took shifts because they're in different time zones working through the night, which worked out for them. If you're used to that kind of thing, cool. I don't recommend it. It's very difficult managing people across time zones. It's just something you don't want to deal with. Now I want to just show you a couple demos. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any last year's teams due to scheduling conflicts to come here and present, but these are two, I believe both of these are the local winners from 2017. So every year we have about 20 challenges, and you come up and present for about 4 minutes. The judges then determine best use of hardware, best most inspirational hack. There are several criteria which we'll share out with you later, but we do choose 2 projects which represent the local winners for each event. Those local winners then create a 4-minute video. I believe it's 4 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. They change it every year. Then they send it up to NASA. NASA spends a couple weeks looking through thousands and thousands of these videos from all around the world. I believe they're all in English. I'm not sure. There's a lot of different countries, a lot of different languages. This is Team Proxima. Their challenge was, they'll talk about it in the video, but their challenge is to build an efficient and predictive energy system to monitor for weather events and to understand when you need to load balance energy sources. And this is designed for Mars, but it can be applied to Earth. And that's one theme that you should all keep an eye on is these challenges, they're out in space, but all of these solutions can be applied back down to Earth to some extent.
As our ability to harness the sun's energy matures, our tools must also evolve. And Proxima is the next generation of intelligent power management. Using machine learning, Proxima grows with the mission by anticipating your needs. A leap over current systems, Proxima empowers your crew to make critical decisions before the storm hits. Proxima delivers knowledge when and where it's needed. A powerful dashboard illuminates key information to support confident decision-making in demanding situations. In an emergency, users can respond using the decision support system to keep critical operations running. Proxima is designed for Mars but has applications here on Earth. From commercial farms to forward operating bases and remote villages, Proxima powers a bright new energy future.
All right, so you guys got 48 hours. You can do that, right? Yeah. This video is created, if not a weeks after the hackathon. What they presented was, I think, a bunch of mock-ups for that, and I think even this was mock-ups. We're not expecting you to actually build stuff that works. We're looking for you to build things that can prove that it'll work. You know, where the whole point of this challenge is to come up and say, hey, here's a big problem that we want to solve. I have a big idea to solve that problem, but it can't just be a pie in the sky. Hey, let's create a car that runs on happy thoughts. Like, okay, that sounds cool, but that's not practical. So we need you to prove your concept somehow. And the way you do that is through a demo. So you have some sort of software, hardware, or something to show, hey, what we're talking about, we can do to some extent. They kind of touched on, we have a UI, we have some machine learning algorithms working in the background. We got enough things here working where it's off the ground. We just need some time and resources to push it over the edge. But we've proved what our idea is. So don't be worried about how polished these things look. I think they've been working on it ever since then also. That's also something we encourage. If you are interested in your projects, you like your team members, or don't, but you still want to work on your project, we're here to help you. So we know accelerators and incubators in the city may or may not need some VC funding. We know them too. If there's anything we could do to support you on your efforts to continue a project after the hackathon, we're there to help. So with that, I'm going to show the next one. This is another local winner.
Hello, we're Team Waste Not. We are solving the What's for Dinner challenge. Did you know that in New York City alone, we waste food that can fill 100 subway carts every day? That means $161 billion per year for the US. Our application tackles this problem by giving restaurant owners an easy-to-use interface that provides predictions of food consumption in the upcoming week. We integrate restaurants' order patterns with external live data, such as weather and market supply, to train our machine learning model. With our product, the restaurant industry can become more aware of their consumption and drastically decrease food waste for our society.
So that project's obviously about managing food waste. Very important when it costs $10,000 to ship 1 pound of matter up into space. You want to recycle everything. You go to Mars or Luna, any of these things. Obviously, still very applicable down here on Earth. The use case was for restaurants. So restaurants can manage how much food they order so that they don't waste any. Food waste is a huge problem in New York City, and it's actually very interesting to show how global challenges posed by NASA have very local applications too. Everyone, especially in New York, can relate to many of these issues. Anybody in an urban center can relate to a lot of these human waste or power source issues. So again, it's very polished. When you're working on your projects, don't worry about getting a whole application deployed and people can start logging in and doing things. Mock-ups are fine. Come up with a mock-up. You can click through it, have it interact with some API, get some data, just show, hey, it could do something, and that's fine. All you got to do is build something for the demo. Once you build something for the demo, and if you win, don't win, whatever, you can work on it afterwards. 48 hours, it's not even 48 hours. It's Saturday morning to like Sunday early afternoon sometime. If you work overnight, you get some extra hours there, but it flies by. So focus on what you want to deliver and work backwards from there. Very critical. So as I mentioned before, the Space Apps NYC, we're a grassroots organization founded to host the Space Apps Challenge, and since then we've grown out of just hosting the Space Apps Challenge to hosting other events throughout the year. We want to build a community of space hackers, including yourselves, that come to events throughout the year so we can grow the hackathon every year, get it larger, have multiple events, a Space Apps Queens, a Space Apps Brooklyn. And to do that, we work we partner with organizations in New York. Internet Society, so Jolie from the Internet Society has been live streaming our events since 2012. I've only been here since 2015. He can tell me stories. Empire Space Labs was founded by actually a co-founder of Space Apps NYC. It's a space accelerator here in New York. National Space Society is one of the largest, if not the largest, citizen space organizations. Think of it like the Planetary Society, but for space in general. And National Space Alliance, the New York Space Alliance, another accelerator. Women's Sphere, Annalise in the back. Data she'll be up here in a minute. First Robotics, New York City, SAP, Silicon Harlem. These are tech and space event organizations in New York that we partner with to host events like these. If you know of any tech events, any organizations who want to be a part of what we're doing here of promoting STEM throughout New York, and the way we do that is through space, because everyone loves space and NASA, like rockets are awesome. If you're interested in that kind of thing, come chat with me. We're always open to hosting more events. We know venues, we know speakers. We could always use venues, we could always use speakers. We have mailing lists. We could put events together like this one. Yeah, so these are some examples of events that we put on this year and in past. Obviously, we're doing the hackathon this year, several boot camps. If you guys haven't been to these, the Intro to Google one, the videos are online. We had, what's not on here, actually it is, the kickoff cocktail party. That video is also on our YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check that out. The Intro to Open Space is a boot camp that is still open. You go to spaceapps.nyc, find the link, register. It's this Wednesday at the Girls Club at 6 p.m. I mentioned the season finale party, and back in 2014, we actually worked with the Museum of Natural History to launch their hackathon series. If you guys haven't been to the Museum of Natural History hackathons, you guys are going to love this. Every year they choose a new department, and they have professors and scientists and people from that department create challenges related to their department, whether it's astrophysics or paleontology or marine biology. And all the hackers, you get a couple hundred people there, go to the museum and hack overnight in the museum, solving problems for the museum. And the first one this past year is marine biology, so you can sleep overnight under the big blue whale, which is really cool. First year was Hack the Universe, so Space Apps NYC partnered with the museum to host a Hack the Universe hackathon, where we got to hack overnight in the Hayden Planetarium, which was pretty baller. The data set, the digital universe, is a data set that has since been open sourced, and you can learn more about how to use the data set in actual real representation in data of the known universe at the Open Space Bootcamp later this week. So here's my plugs. If you enjoy the community, if you enjoy the events that you come, the boot camps, the hackathons, volunteer as an organizer. We are looking for people to volunteer time, anytime you have. We're all volunteers. We work nights and weekends. We're not asking you to come in and run a hackathon, but if you have any experience in marketing, or know how to go on social media and know how to use Instagram, and want to share some space stories, or a tech organization or someone who wants to get involved, we're looking for anybody who wants to help out in any way. We have a lot of different events, social events, cocktail parties, and tech meetups. We could always use help registering people in and getting set up and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. It's a very cool way to go beyond the hackathon and really enjoy the community. And that leads into sponsorships. None of you are organizations, you're all people, but if you know organizations who would like to get involved in the Space Apps Challenge or sponsoring Space Apps NYC, we're always looking for sponsorships. In addition to sponsorships, we recently launched a Patreon page. So Patreon is an online platform where content creators like musicians and artists can basically get funded by their supporters, by their fans, so that they can go on creating content without having to worry about a personal financial burden. None of us make money. We're all volunteers. Sometimes it costs us financially to put on these events. So we always ask for any community donations, $1 a month, $5 a month. All goes towards getting food, getting t-shirts, getting cool stuff together, stickers for events like these. It would be a really big help. Patreon.com, or come talk to us about sponsor the hackathon. There's a lot of really cool perks get to sponsoring, but again, you should probably be an organization because they're just way too much for any one person to spend money on. Okay, so that's weird. Okay, so that was last year. If you have a venue, we also are looking for venues to host small events from 50-person meetups up to like 200-person hackathons. If you know of any, just give us a holler. And that's it. So that's my intro to space apps. We covered a lot of the high points. The details of the day-to-day hackathon are on the website if you want to learn, like, okay, when do I show up, and all that stuff. But it's pretty straightforward for anyone who's been to a hackathon. If you haven't been to a hackathon, you can expect to show up the Friday night before. We're going to have an orientation event where we walk you through the specific challenges for this year, and that's also where we do team formation. And then the rest of the weekend is pretty straightforward. It's you come in on Saturday and you hack. You just find a space, find a corner, find a chair, find a couch, something, and you're just there with your team. You can roam around, do whatever. We provide all meals, so breakfast, lunch, dinner for Saturday, dinner on Friday, and breakfast and lunch on Sunday. We got presentations start around 2 p.m., I believe, so you have the morning to wrap things up, get your presentation ready, talk with your team, and then submit it and have lunch and not have to worry about anything until the demos start. So you can expect to be there starting 8 o'clock on Saturday to about 5 p.m. on Sunday. It's open overnight, so you can stay overnight, but you got to bring, if you want to, like a sleeping bag or anything, you got to bring all that. Otherwise, you can come back for breakfast at 8 a.m. Again, if there's any other questions, there's a big FAQ page on the website. Again, my name is Joe. Here's contact info. I'm going to be hanging around the space afterwards. And I'm running out of things to say. I believe that's it. Again, if you have any questions, come chat with me. So right now, I'm going to hop over to, let's see how I could do this, hop over to the OpenNASA API portal and just do a quick overview of that. Again, we have a video of the Google Cloud presentation. Tejpal Bhatia, who runs startups, New York Startups NYC for Google. He did a presentation on how to log into the Google Cloud platform, create an account, work with their APIs, get up and running. This is for the Open NASA dataset. So this is free public data that NASA has maintains, and it's especially useful for solving our challenges. So I'm going to see if we can get this working. We good? I'm just gonna hold this. Is that, you can hear anything? Cool. Okay. All right. Let's see how this does. I need both hands. This is cool. Okay. All right. So Open NASA API. So there's a portal. Oops. Can you hear me? There's a portal. Open. What was it? Data.nasa? Shit. All right, what I usually do, I just Google Open NASA APIs. And again, so for the weekend, we're going to have mentors available all weekend in person and online. So if you have any questions, we'll have Datanauts, which are people who have gone, Annalisa can actually talk more about this since she went through the program. Datanauts are, I forget what her phrase is. It's like data scientists for astronauts who explore data science or data sets instead of the universe or something like that. It's you go to do this program at NASA and you basically learn how to work with NASA data sets. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I know, right? You get to learn how to work with NASA data sets to explore data sets and find new ways to interact with it, to extract meaning from it. And so what we specifically use it for building applications. Now, the Space Apps Challenge is more than just a software engineering competition. You can build hardware. There's several robotics challenges here. It could be, I think they're also looking for like poems and art and other stuff, which it's new for me. So we're still looking for mentors, and we're trying to see how that's going to pan out this year, so we can get mentors for next year. But what most people do are web apps, and so this is great for if you have web, mobile, any kind of software that relies on some sort of NASA space data set. This is a great resource for you. So you go to api.nasa.gov. This is a really comprehensive, quick start guide. For anyone who's used APIs before, it's very straightforward. You come in, you create a token, you authenticate, and you could start using the docs. For everyone who's not familiar with APIs, what I just said is you come here, you have to generate a token. A token basically is a way for the platform to know who you are. So you give them your credentials, you sign in, and they give you back a token. It's a long string of random numbers and characters, and you save that, and every time you save it in your application, every time your application talks to the data set, you bring this token with you. So the data set knows, hey, this is Joe, he's asking for this data, I'm cool. He's not like a hacker, he's not someone that we haven't vetted before. Or if something weird goes on, we can tie it back to one specific person. So you create this API key by going right here, I'm not sure if you can see this. Go to get your API key. NASA portal, again, getting started. What are you doing? There we go. That's API portal. Yeah, it jumped me for some reason. There we go. Okay, it's confusing me. Yeah, just first name, last name, email. This is just like they want notes on how you're going to use this stuff just for their purposes. You sign up and that's about it. I think there may be an email confirmation or something, but they give you back a token. And throughout the docs, it'll just say, insert your token here. That's all you got to do. So once you have your token, we'll skip authentication if you have questions, because that can get complicated. If you have questions about authentication, if you happen to use an API that requires authentication, so some data sets are large or require a lot of computing power, I make a request for some data and they need to spend some time and resources to resolve that request. They sometimes request an additional layer of authentication just so they don't get what's called DOS or DDoS, distributed attacks, where you can have a lot of machines going and hit this one data set at once, and then all of a sudden takes down all their computers because they just can't handle the load. So authentication is another layer of security on top of that. It's like a one-time thing. You set it up, you don't have to worry about it. So again, if you have an application that requires an API that uses auth, we can take care of that over the weekend. The interesting thing, which you guys should all start looking at, go familiarize yourselves with the challenges, but then come back here and check out the API docs. Here we go. Getting started. That's the data portal. So we did get your API key, overview, and then API. Scroll down. Whoops. It's this one right here. It's been a while since I saw this website. They changed everything on me. Okay, cool. So this is the fun part. This is where you can come in and view data catalog. These are all different data sources that have different ways to interact with them. So you get some like charts. There are tags down here, so earth science would be a big one. If your challenge is related to tracking hurricanes or something. I'm trying to remember. All of the challenges over the past years have been kind of mungling in my head. So if you're doing something like that, then you can come here and check on oceans. No results. Great. So, oh wait, it's because they're additive filters. So let me pop some of these off. There are no earth science ocean charts. Apparently. Okay, here we go. So you come in here, you could search for whatever. I would start with using it kind of like Google, where you're browsing around and then you drill down into specifically what you want. This is one one way where you can really get the benefit of a mentor, someone who's worked with his data sets before. NASA is not Google. Their indexing is not as good, so it really helps if you know what you're looking for ahead of time. You just pop in here. Cool, what's this? It tells you a little bit about this data set. It gives you, no, we don't want that one. View data. There's a visualization also if you want to play with it. It's a way to, this is why you don't do live demos, which is ironic for hackathon, right? Here we go, visualize, create visualization, open. So, oh my God. There we go. So these are ways where you can, it was there, right? Okay. All right, so I'm picking all the wrong data sets, but you guys get the idea. There are different options for you to come in and say, here's a data set that is related, for instance, past data on, or here we go, so ocean currents. I'm still stuck in the marine biology theme right now. There's a data set on ocean currents that NASA provides and maintains. If I'm working on a challenge that tracks oil spills or hurricanes across the ocean, or how global warming over the years has affected, that kind of thing, data sets on ocean currents would be a good place to start. And then you could see you can visualize the data and see how you can incorporate that into your challenge. There are API docs in here, like this guy. Here we go. Here's the API endpoint, and they have documentation somewhere. They have, this is the endpoint you get, but basically what this means is this is the location for this data, and then there's documentation in here. Sorry, I should have found it, where it tells you here's how you interact with this API. Again, we're going to be online all weekend if you have specific questions about this, but with these few pages, you should be able to get 80 to 90% of everything you need. Anything else, we'll have people available for other data sets that aren't listed here, but this is a really good canonical source for all the main data sets you're going to need for the hackathon. So with that, that's my brief intro into the OpenNASA datasets. Here we go. Like this one of the OpenNASA, this is a separate organization in NASA that maintains this. This is a way where you can come in and say, I'm a citizen activist or I'm a developer, so let's curate your experience on this website to you and your expertise. I think most of us are going to be going to developer, and it shows you specifically, hey look, space apps, specifically what you can use. Specifically what you can use in terms of API docs to interact with this data. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, but if anybody has any questions, which I'm sure you will, about OpenNASA APIs, data sets, any technical limitations you may have in the hackathon, we request all open source technologies just for the spirit of the Space Apps Challenge. We'd like everything open source and free and public for everybody. If anybody has any questions around that or how to get started, again, I'll be around. You can shoot me an email, put up my contact information again later. But actually, before we hand it over, does anybody have any initial questions that maybe I can answer right now? About anything? Sorry about that. Do we have another mic? Jolie, do we have another mic? Oh, okay. We're just shout out the question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you guys have a limit on the team size?
So the question's limit on the team size. We don't have a strict limit. I'll just tell you my past experience. What we don't want are the extremes, and I consider extremes to be like under 3 and more than 5 to 8. In there's a sweet spot. If we get a lot of teams that are under 1 person, or under 3 people, I guess remote people are like half a person, right? If you get under 3 people, so like 1 or 2 people on a team, if we get enough of them, then demos take forever. Because we got to go through all the the lower the number of people on a team, the more teams we have. Each team gets 3-4 minutes. Again, I have to go check the requirements this year. It just means it takes longer, and demos already are going to be a couple hours. So we try to encourage people, have a few people on your team. If you get more than like 8 or so, then teams start getting unmanageable unless you all know each other, like you've worked together and you have team dynamics already formed. You guys are just going to start spiraling and arguing, and you don't want 8 people going in 8 different directions at 4 a.m. It gets crazy. A lot of cat herding. So it's a soft recommendation. You know, do whatever you'd like. If you have another team that you guys work on the same project, team up or work on similar projects. With everything else in the space industry, it's cooperation. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but SpaceX and Blue Origin, everybody's like, we're in competition, but we all want to go to space, so let's help each other out. That's the philosophy that we also have here at the hackathon. Is everyone's is competing with each other, but everybody helps each other out. If you have a question on Python and some other guy can help you out, you go and say, hey, how you doing? I'm working on this thing. You got a minute? And everyone's very sociable like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about team size, but do whatever you think is best. Any other questions? Yes?
So if you have less than 3, do you have a format where you pair us up with other people that have smaller teams and we can work together?
Sure. So team formation. We have, if you've registered for the Space Apps Challenge for the hackathon, you should have gotten an invite to Slack. Slack is a team-based communication tool that a lot of organizations use. Through there, we have a channel called Team Meetup. And basically, you can go there, you introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Joe. I'm a software engineer. I have experience in Ruby and Python, JavaScript, yada, yada, yada. And you say, I'm looking for a team, or I want to work on this challenge or something. And that's a way for you to connect with other people to say, oh, we need a designer, and you're a designer. Let's chat about this. We also, on our Friday night orientation event, so that's going to be at the Girls Club at 6 p.m., it's mandatory. If you can't make it, talk with us. We'll get you in. The point of that event is to do all the prep work ahead of time so people can start hacking Saturday morning. So check people in, introduce you to the challenges and everything. At the end of that event will be an opportunity for everyone to congregate around speakers and ask questions and form teams. If by the time Saturday comes around, you still don't have a team, just ping people in Slack. Be like, hey, I'm this skill set. I'm looking for a team. I was interested in these challenges. Each challenge has its own Slack channel. So if you're interested in a particular challenge, you drop in there and say, hey, what teams are working on this? Do you guys need any help? If you have like 2 or 3, 4 people on a team, you can always add room for more. It's also only like a 36-hour event, so you're not going to be working on a project with these people for forever. So be sociable, introduce yourself. Let other people in, especially if you're coming with a preformed team. Let other people on the team, and just be welcoming with that. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I'll be around afterwards. I think we're right on time. So for the next speaker, I would like to introduce Annalisa Bolares. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Is this the right one? Oh, yes. It's keynote. I don't know what to do. Next up is Annalisa Bolares. She's the CEO and co-founder of Women's Sphere. Women's Sphere is co-organizing the Space Apps Hackathon, and she's also a strategic partnerships organizer for Space Apps NYC. And she's a great friend, and she's a NASA data-naut, so I hope she talks a little bit about that in her talk. But anyways, this is Annalisa.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Hi everybody, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to host you at the upcoming NASA Space Apps New York City Global Challenge. And I wanted to introduce Women's Sphere a little bit to you. I'm a NASA data-naut, as Joe mentioned. So astronauts, they're explorers of space and the universe, and they go to outer space. And those of us have the second best job possible after astronauts, which is being a data-naut, explorers of data. So in my pastime, that's what I do, and I work with a collective of over 100 NASA data-nauts all over the world to look into NASA data and figure out, what better insights we can glean from the trillions of terabytes of data that NASA has about the universe, which is super fascinating. So I'm honored personally, and Women's Sphere is honored to be a co-organizer of NASA Space Apps New York. We are also producing NASA Space Apps Challenge in the Philippines, which is where I'm originally from, for the first time. So that's also very exciting. And I'm able to parallel process because I have a great team there as well. Teamwork is everything. And, you know, the Space Apps New York team is pretty awesome. So just a little background in Women's Sphere. We started 10 years ago. So we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary. And we started with producing summits and festivals. We currently have a portfolio of 4 different initiatives that we run. We have introduced this year our Innovation Leadership Lab, and Hannah Payne, who's going to speak after me, is going to speak about best practices and excelling in hackathons. But she is a program manager for our Innovation Leadership Lab and for our Incubator Network, which provides free training and education primarily for women and girls. Our summits and festivals and our foundation are open to everyone, so we welcome guys to be a part of our community. But Women's Sphere's mission is really around empowering women and girls to create the future, so that's one mission, and then promoting a world where all of us, men, women, people of all genders, can work together towards building a more sustainable and more inclusive and more equal world, since we are, you know, thank you. Since, so let me just repeat that since Jolie was like, so anyway, Women's Sphere's mission, as I mentioned, is about promoting equality and collaborations that enable us to have a more sustainable and more inclusive future. It is also about empowering women to create the future. And so we have a lot of programs towards that. One of the programs that we're introducing under the Innovation Leadership Lab is the Women's Sphere Global STEAM Fest. And so we have the NASA Hackathon, it's focused on data. The Women's Sphere Global STEAM Fest is focused on empowering women and girls to basically use STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts and design, and mathematics, to help achieve the global goals for sustainable development. And I have a question. How many of you know what the global goals for sustainable development are? Awesome. So this is what they are. There are 17 global goals. And actually, it's super amazing to have SAP NextGen as one of our partners as well, because they are all about helping achieve the global goals for sustainable development using innovation. So these are the 17 goals that 193 member states of the United Nations agreed to help achieve by 2030. So there are all of these collaborations happening around this. And you know, it starts with ending extreme poverty as global goal #1. And so for all of us here, I think that, you know, we all care about the world and our planet. I'm sure that we have some favorite global goals over others, but the question that we ask ourselves is, how do we use innovation? How do we use our talents? How do we use collaborations and entrepreneurships to help make a dent in helping achieve these global goals? So for us at Women's Sphere, you know, we're introducing the STEAM Fest. It's a way to really approach, harness, and mobilize creative power, coding power, artistic power, video power, to help create vision around solutions to these goals. And Hannah can speak a little bit more about that because she is actually overseeing that part of what we do. And so I think those of you that are getting started with the NASA Space Apps Hackathon would also love for you to, you know, would love to encourage you to continue on the journey beyond space apps into thinking about these global goals that our planet really has to tackle, and how you can individually make a contribution and how we collectively can make a contribution in helping achieve these goals, since we all share one planet. And this is really the question that, you know, we're really all about this. How do we create the future together? And I think there's so much about the spirit of NASA, the spirit of Space Apps New York City, that is all about asking the same question and standing for the same things. How do we create this amazing future together? So with that, let me introduce Hannah Payne, our program director, to share a little bit about the mechanics for the STEAM Fest and to kick off a session on how to excel in hackathons. She's the former COO of Hack New York as well, before she joined Women's Sphere. So we're very honored to have her.
Hey, Jolie, would you do me too? Help. So let's head back to, just briefly, to the schedule for the Global Code Fest. Is there anyone in here who is currently a female student? We are all professionals in here, but perhaps you know one. You have a sister, you have a friend. We're encouraging everyone to invite the women, whether they are undergraduate or graduate students, to participate in our Global Code Fest. We have the Code Fest, which will be running from November 1st through 11th. Students can sign up in teams via our website. We will ask them for their goals as a person, as well as for their team information, because by entering one of these competitions, they'll be entering a more global Women's Sphere pipeline, where we will be mentoring them and following them along as they journey to becoming successful adults. So with the Code Fest, you sign up. You will then get access to our DevPost page. I imagine if you've competed in hackathons before, you may have used DevPost, formerly ChallengePost. Anyone in here? Yeah. A lot of hackathons use that type of software to submit things. All of our submissions need to be open source, so there'll be things that are hosted on GitHub. Students will submit. We will validate them as being proper submissions from an educational institution, all the students' work, that kind of thing, and then they proceed to judging by our global expert team of judges. I forgot, when I said the word expert, that I forgot to mention our mentoring program, which will be running throughout the competition. We'll have several live streams and possibly even some in-person mentoring here during the event. So after you submit, they go to judging. There will be semi-finalists and finalists, and then everything will be exhibited as part of a larger media production to the rest of the world. And then finally, next year, we will have our award ceremonies. And that is the plan. And we hope that, yeah, you'll invite the women students in your life to participate, because this should be awesome. Now I'm going to talk about basic things for success at a hackathon. First, any questions on this? All right, I'll go find my own presentation. So I was asked to speak in general on how to succeed at a hackathon, how to make the best of a hackathon experience, whether that is a hackathon like Space Apps, where you come in person for a short period of time and work on set challenges, or another hackathon where you might work in person but also be able to do anything you want, or hackathons that you participate via the internet, like the Global Code Fest. This is primarily about in-person hackathons, since we're talking about Space Apps today, but it has a lot of information that you're able to use at other hackathons as well. So who I am. I have been a hackathon participant, a volunteer, an organizer, a judge. I went to dozens of hackathons during my career as a computer science student. I used to organize buses of students to travel around to various hackathons, and that was very fun, if very sleepless. I volunteered in a number of hackathons. I am the organizer of Unhackathon, which ran for 2 years and sought to defy the norms about hackathons. I was also the director of operations at HackNY and did a number of hackathons through them. So I know a little bit about hackathons. Oh, right, I also judged at last year's museum hackathon I was a judge at, and that was pretty cool. One of the things I care about the most is approaching hackathons in a sustainable way, both in regard to your own well-being and with regard to producing projects that you can then extend if you want to. And I think that's a really important part of Space Apps, so yay. So we'll talk about the basic outcomes of what a good hackathon is, and also what makes a good hackathon project. I'll also go through sort of a basic hackathon timeline that can be applied to any hackathon with demos at the end, and a little bit about what to do with your project at the end. So, basic stuff. What makes a good hackathon experience? This presentation is covered with words so that I can send it places afterwards, so pardon me for kind of reading my slides a little bit. So at a hackathon, of course, you'll meet people with similar interests. In this case, people who care about space, which is awesome. You'll be able to make something that you're proud of. You'll have the opportunity to learn new skills and technologies. That's especially important here with all of the APIs that NASA has made available. That might not be something that you had would have come upon in your day-to-day life. So getting the opportunity to work with those things is really exciting, and one of the things that makes hackathons truly great. You can also network with people in your field, with mentors. Often hackathons have corporate sponsors. You can network with them too. Hackathon projects are most successful when the project that you do at the hackathon is something that's really well defined and contained. Even if you end up going on to expand upon it, you want to have something that you can have finished enough to demo and feel proud about, and something that doesn't feel like a mess when you leave, because you want to be able to get back into it and keep working on it. It should involve technology you know well, and hopefully also involve something that you'd like to use and learn from. You should also take advantages of the opportunities you might not otherwise have, such as using special APIs or data sets that have mentors attached to them there. Bad hackathon projects are big, complicated things that you can't understand or define well, something that you can't actually explain to one another, even on your own team. Something that you don't feel personally excited about, what I call API salad, which is when people, just take an API and attach it to another API, so you end up with like, Tinder for dogs, or, Uber for Mars, I guess in this case, Bookeroover. But yeah, so just attaching APIs together sort of without a real plan is something that a lot of unsuccessful hackathon projects do. And while it can sometimes look flashy, it doesn't really do anything good for you or for the world. So grow up a little. So I'm going to present just a short hackathon timeline of how you might want to organize yourself. So before the hackathon, meet with your team. It sounds like most people at Space Apps will already know who their teammates are, or at least somebody who you'd like to work with, even if you end up adding more people to your team later. If you're attending a hackathon with challenges, the way Space Apps is, pick one in advance and do some research on it. So most successful teams come to hackathons with at least the germ of an idea. Coming with absolutely no idea about what you want to work on, especially with something that might have such a learning curve, will really set you back. Determine the type of project you'd like to work on. There are, of course, mostly web apps going to be coming out of this, but you might do a hardware hack, you might do a mobile app. All those things are fair game, right? Cool. Start gathering your equipment if it is in fact a hardware hack. At the first Space Apps, we had 3D printers available to use, and I remember my team got in on that, and that was pretty awesome. So if you're starting from scratch with something new, like one of these APIs or another tool that you plan on using, start researching it, start trying it out. Another important thing for your team is making sure you have the right software before you arrive. A lot of teams get stymied at the beginning because hackathon Wi-Fi can sometimes be a bit iffy, and everyone trying to download the Android SDK at the same time, not so fun. So if you have the opportunity to get your stuff in advance, to download data sets, to download SDKs, do it early. Figure out a plan for version control and code sharing. Just like in real life, using Git or Bitbucket or anything like that is a great idea. Working with code in an organized way is the right thing to do, and it'll allow you to work with your code again later in the future. If there are prizes related to using certain data sets, look them up. See if you can use them in interesting ways. That applies to our challenges here a little bit, and there may also be teams there to mentor with their own APIs, right? Cool. Remember to start small, distilling your idea into a basic proof of concept that you can then demo. Always a good reminder, everything is going to take more time than you think it is. Downloading things is going to take more time. Going through tutorials is going to take more time than you expect. Git is going to take huge amounts of time, and you won't know why. So build in extra time for everything. Plan to leave with something you can demo, even if it is a set of mock-ups. Make it a set of mock-ups that you feel good about, something that you feel like you can expand upon in the future. You won't feel motivated to continue if you don't have something that feels a little bit complete to start. Most hackathon projects don't go anywhere after the hackathon, so it's a great goal to produce something that you will want to come back to. For you, play around with the necessary technologies. You've decided on what your skills are on the team, work with the things that you're planning on using, and start following things like Space Apps online, because I imagine they'll be posting a whole lot of information about the challenges, about the data sets, about the location that you might want to find out more about. If you're a student, before the hackathon, make sure you're ahead on all of your homework and projects. You will be exhausted. Space Apps will run all night. Actually, even if you're not a student, make sure you're ahead. You will be a vegetable at work on Monday. Get a good night's sleep. Pack a sweatshirt or a blanket or a sleeping bag. A lot of venues are really cold at night. I remember our first time at Space Apps, we were in the space wing of the Natural History Museum, and they don't heat it at night. And so we were all like shivering in our seats, and our fingers were getting stiff, and you'd see the security guards walking around in these big parkas. And they said, "What's up with that?" And they're like, "Yeah, they turned the heat off. What are you doing?" So yeah, it gets cold sometimes. And bonus, if you bring a sleeping bag, you can sleep in it and you can sit in it, and that's awesome. Really basic stuff, but really useful. So once you get to the hackathon, remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint, or at least it's a 5K. Keep your code organized and clean. The last thing you want to be doing is spending the last 2 hours frantically squashing bugs instead of polishing up your demo. And you also want to be able to expand upon your hack once you're finished. Be smart about your expectations and about the scope of your project. I've brought this up like 5 times already, but I'm going to bring it up again. Don't do something that is completely out of your range for the beginning. Plan on how to expand it, but think of that proof of concept as something that you'll be able to demo, something you'll be excited about later. Take good care of yourself and your team. I'm talking mentally and physically and emotionally. I've seen, teams can get really close and bond really well at a hackathon, but they can also end up not friends anymore. Don't forget to use the resources that hackathons offer. I'll go on about that again in a minute. And of course, remember that you are there to learn and to have fun, and that will make everything better. So, quick notes on hacking healthy. A lot of hackathons provide a whole bunch of snacks and energy drinks and all sorts of exciting things. Know your own body, and remember that you will be demoing the next day, so if you absolutely burn yourself out and keep yourself up on massive amounts of caffeine overnight, you will probably crash the next day, and you will not enjoy your demos, especially since they're all the way at 5 p.m. If you get restless, take a walk. That can really help your thought process, and it's also good for you. Make sure you are caring for your teammates and making sure that nobody is really stuck. I really support pair programming in the middle of the night because it keeps you on track. It allows you to get easy bugs stopped before they happen. It can make sure that everybody's on the same page as you work. So pair programming at night, totally fun thing to do, totally a good idea. At the opening ceremony, so now we're going sort of timeline-wise here, listen to API demos, listen to discussion of the challenges, see if there's anything that inspires you that you hadn't thought of previously. You don't have to go with the idea you came with. If there's something that you come up with, go for it. If you're working with something new, write down the contact information for anybody who's a mentor in that field, or the information for documentation online so that you can easily access it later. When you start, find a good space to hack with your team. Plan out a spot to have a nap later if you'd like to. If you know other teams, it's often nice to hack near them because you can help each other and keep each other's spirits up. But if you don't know anybody, you can make friends with the teams near you and learn from them. Once you begin hacking, how I've seen most successful teams do this. By the end of the first hour of the hackathon, you have processed everything that came in during the opening ceremonies. You have solidified your idea or come up with a new idea based on what you've learned. You've done a little bit of testing. Oh, okay. Okay, whatever. Everybody dance. So if the lights go out during the hackathon, it means you need to get up and take a walk. Anyway, So you've talked with your team about your idea. You have a solid plan. If you haven't done this already, draw out the implementation, figure out what the architecture is going to be, divide the roles, try to figure out what technology you're going to need to learn and whether that's feasible. Figure out the architecture, because if you have that in place when you start, you'll do really well. And if you have fudged things in your head or ignored parts of the problem, it's not going to go well later. By the end of the first quarter of the hackathon, since hackathons have different amounts of time, I'm kind of dividing this as parts instead of hours at this point. By the end of the first quarter, your project should be understood by everybody. Everyone should understand the architecture you're planning on. Everyone should have set up their development environment. You should have set up your code sharing. You should start with your version control, of course. And the plan should be ready to go. You should all be starting coding on your own particular part, and you should understand what part that is. You should also know what the end goal is going to be and the steps that it's going to take to get there, what people are going to need to work with whom, which parts depend on others. You need to know what the plan is there. By the end of the first half of the hackathon, your most basic functions should be in place. If you're working with a data set and doing some calculations with it, your algorithm should be done. You should be able to be pulling from the data set. You should be doing that kind of thing. By now, you've probably discovered that something was harder than you expected, and you're having to reroute a little bit, and that's okay. You still have time. Make sure at this point, when it is often in the middle of the night, not to get stuck stewing in your own seat. Pair program if you are stuck. Get help from someone around you, whether it's a teammate, another person on a team, a mentor, an organizer. If you're completely stuck, see if you need to step back and change your goals, because you've got time to do that. By the time 3/4 of the hackathon is over, I recommend you're now adding more features onto your basic functionality. You've got something that you feel pretty good about demoing. At this point, you should be figuring out what your stable version for demoing is going to be and nail it down on GitHub. Then you can roll back to it if you end up with problems later. This enables you to be more adventurous in the last quarter, and will give you something to demo if an adventure perhaps goes awry. Don't forget to do testing. Testing is important. Yay. Start thinking about what your demo is going to look like. How are you going to present this? At this point, you probably know how finished you're going to be with the product, what it's going to look like by then, and you're going to adjust your expectations of how your demo is going to look. Are you going to need to have slides around it to talk about what the future of it is? Yeah, you might, and so start putting that together. This is also a good opportunity to get some rest, because you want to be good for demos. In the last 2 hours, I recommend not writing any new code. Fix things you need to fix, get a stable version ready to demo. If there are features you didn't have time for and they're in your head, write them down because you may want them later. Make sure everything that you need to demo, like mock user accounts, mock data, slides, is ready to go for your demo. Try to give yourself a full hour where you're not working on any code to get ready for your demo. Practice it in front of each other, figure out what you're going to be saying to all these people who have no idea what you've been doing for the past 30 hours. And then submit your hack, whether it's on DevPost or somewhere else. What are y'all using? They do their own thing. Submit your hack on the own thing. Cool. When you're not hacking at the hackathon, which is a surprisingly large amount of time sometimes, see if there are workshops or meetups with mentors or anything like that. I'm not sure that if that applies to space apps, but it often applies to hackathons that are professional or for students. If there are sponsors, visit them, and not just to collect stickers. Bring your resume if you'd like to, because this can be a great opportunity to be showing somebody what you're actually working on in that moment, and you can form great connections. Talk to other teams about their projects if they seem like they're willing to chat, or you meet someone else who's wandering the halls. Bounce ideas off each other, talk about their projects. I think you said cooperation, which I think is a first robotics word, right? They use that all the time. Yeah. It's a real thing, and you'll be able to talk to each other about your own projects and get excited if you've been a bit down. Should you sleep? Generally, I say yes. If you are tired and cranky, you are not going to write good code. So if you find yourself unable to concentrate, if you find yourself snapping at each other on your team, if you have that really horrible, desperate, overwhelmed feeling you get at 4 in the morning when you've got a million bugs and you're thinking, I'm never going to figure this out, take 45 minutes, take an hour, have a little rest. Often 45 minutes of rest is infinitely better than 45 minutes of smacking on the same bug that you've been working on for the past 2 hours. So keep that in mind. Really think about what is the most valuable thing for you here. When demos happen, you want to be calm and alert. You want to have gone over your stuff beforehand, and you want to have gotten some rest. This talks about the different types of demoing. So if you are demoing one by one on stage, which is, I think, how Space Apps works, make sure you are ready with what you're going to demo. Make sure you're ready with your laptop, whatever you need to do to present. Walk through it, go. If it's going to be science fair style, which are another type of hackathon demos, you know, everyone sets their own laptop up at a table and judges and other hackers walk around. That's when you figure out who's going to say what and talk deeper about your process and your technology. You don't have a whole lot of time if you're on stage, so figure out how you're going to use that best. In this case, you're going to be talking about the challenge that you faced, the product that you produced, and also what you're planning on doing with it in the future. After the hackathon, if you plan on continuing your project, which we hope you do, make sure you've done some documentation as you go. Even if you're writing stuff, you know, on the bus on the way home, or as soon as you get back home, it's a good idea to dump as much documentation, as much idea onto paper, into a notepad somewhere, so that when you go back and look at it, you'll know what you were intending. Often you come back to a project and you find your scary spaghetti code, and you have no idea what you're planning on. So writing stuff down with your team at the end is really important. And then take that opportunity to continue. There will be people you meet who might be interested in working with you, whether they're the mentors there or other teams that might have done something similar. Space Apps is a really unique opportunity to continue what you've worked on before in a way that is, I think, different from other hackathons, and that's really exciting. You've also learned a bunch of skills by then. You will know about the NASA data APIs, and you will be able to use them again. That was all I had. So are there questions about hackathons in general?
That's really great.
Oh, good. I saw, oh, hey, yeah.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned define the norms. What was your approach in defining the norms of hackathon?
Oh, with Unhackathon. So Unhackathon took place in, I think, 2014 and 2015, and was a college hackathon designed to defy expectations about hackathons for college students. At the time, hackathons were tremendously male-dominated. They were tremendously unhealthy in terms of food and sleep and approaches to problems. Oftentimes, people would show up, they'd kind of be there to collect swag and start a project, but if they got stuck, they'd feel fine just giving up. And a number of times, a friend and I would count teams who started projects versus teams who presented at the end, and it was often down around like 10 or 20%. So many teams just kind of dropped off somewhere in the middle. So our goal with Unhackathon was to bridge some of that gender gap at hackathons. When I was at MHacks, we counted less than 6% women, and that was nasty. So we were trying to bridge that a bit just by being welcoming and offering sort of more healthy spaces for things. We had a great system of mentors that helped people to get their projects completed or completed enough to demo. And we also had something called Springboard projects, which were sort of, instead of having traditional tutorials where you end up with kind of a final product and then you can't use it anymore, we created a series of tutorials dealing with back-end and front-end programming, game development, a lot of stuff with wearable technology, because we had all those sewable LEDs we did a lot with, and some stuff with hardware hacking that would give you kind of a base project that you could then do something really interesting with. So we offered those to students, and they did those on teams. And we had over 90% of our teams present, and we had 50-50 gender ratio without having to do anything, with regard to selecting people. And it went really well, so that was awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so that was on Hackathon. Since then, we put all of our stuff online, and other events have done some of the things we've done or used our Springboard project since they're open source, and that's been nice. Oh, yeah.
What are some of the good formats for demos? What are some of the good demos?
Some of the good demos I've seen. In general, the best demos I've seen do have something working, even if it's small. And they're demos where you can really tell what could happen with a project if they continued with it. So even if you don't have something that is complete, mocking up future screens, writing more about what you plan on doing is really important. Some of the worst demos I've seen have been nothing but slides, or have been demos that are actually fake. I have known students to pretend they have an app working that they can click through, but it is, in fact, basically a slideshow on the web. Don't do that. We can tell. That's it. Okay, well, thanks so much.
All right, on that note, I did want to bring up one last thing that I thought of when Hannah was talking. I did mention that earlier, just get something working. It is important to have something working. And even if you just take a video of it, Hannah mentioned, get something working and then stash it and work on something else. If you want to take a video of like a GIF or something, a short video, 30 seconds of here's my app doing something, you could present that at the demo and not have to, you still have to come up and live talk about it, but you can show videos and GIFs and everything. You don't have to actually go in and log into your app and hope that the network connection's working at that time and everything. It's fine. I actually recommend doing a little short video that you could put in the background as you talk. I also have a presentation, flip through slides and everything. But one thing that I did want to share with you guys in terms of how to present, this is something that the global organizing team sent us. Let's see if I can find it. I was just looking at it. There we go. So these are called 30 seconds of glory and 240 seconds of glory. Let me see if I could make this a little bigger. Okay, so this is just a breakdown of how to present, basically, demos, but it also applies with a lot of presentations. Just start off by introducing yourself. Introduce yourself. Talk about what the challenge is and lead us into the problem that you're trying to solve, which then leads us to the solution. This is all within the scope of 30 seconds. You'll have more than 30 seconds. This is just breaking it down, I think, for a video or something. Because I think if you win locally, you create a 30-second video to send to NASA. So name your solution, just like, this is the challenge, this is the new. This is just a brief couple sentences of what it does. And then we describe the idea and talk about it a little bit more in depth. You don't have to go into the tech stack or anything. You can if you want to, if there's something cool that you want to highlight, or, a sponsor API. If you use sponsor code, please say that. They love it when we use their software. They give us more money next year. And then one of the big things, as Hannah pointed out, is the last part, which is looking forward. Given more time and resources, what could your project become? If we got, a $50,000 grant from NASA and we just had 6 months to work on this thing or whatever it is, this is where we would take it. Not promising anything, but just you could phrase it like that. And so that's just a very short breakdown. If you look at it, this is the entire weekend boils down into these 4 minutes. And this is really how it breaks down. So you could think of it like reverse engineer a project. This is the presentation we'd like to give. What do we need to build in order to enhance this presentation? And then the other document is 240 seconds to success. This is the more built out version. I'll share these with everybody because it's difficult to read on here. But it basically says the same thing. Introduce yourself. Who are you? Win the judges over with a story. It's always good. Storytelling is very important when it comes to presentations. Describe the problem. Get them to empathize with your perspective on the problem and bring them around, set them up for a really just knock your socks off solution. And that's the second problem. And then explain your innovation. So you set up this problem and they're like, oh, I really wish, there's all this plastic in the ocean. It seems unbearable and there's nothing we could do about it. And it's going to be like this forever and it's going to ruin everybody's lives and the world's over. And all of a sudden your big idea comes on. And then you got them right there. And now they're listening to every word you're saying. And you then lead them into your solution. And then you talk about impacting your needs. So here's my solution, here's what we're doing, this is how we could, improve the earth or better humanity, whatever it is, and here's what we need to do it. 90% of what NASA does is we have a plan to do everything, we just don't have the money for it. We know how to get to Mars, we've known how to do that since the 70s, we just don't have the money for it. That's what we're doing here. We're saying this is what we're gonna do, now let's figure out a way to go do it. So I'll share these out with everybody, but this is a very easy guide to follow when forming presentations. It's one of the things that everyone usually forgets about until noon on Sunday, and then oh yeah, presentation, let's just throw some screenshots together and then we're good. Put a little more thought into that. I would recommend try to get your stuff ready by morning, and then morning on Sunday start working on a presentation, or delegate 1 or 2 people to work on this. You don't need every person coming in here and saying 3 words and then hand off the microphone to someone else. You could have one person just present the entire thing. And then have everybody ready for questions, because it's a 4-minute presentation with a 1-minute Q&A from judges. So have everybody ready to just answer questions. If someone knows more about part of the app, you can delegate to them. So that wraps up our portion of the event. I did want to invite Dave Pentecost up to chat about the Lower East Side Girls Club, where we'll be hosting the event this year, and also the upcoming Intro to Open Space Bootcamp. And I'm just going to throw this up real quick, because promos.
Don't worry, I'm going to make this short. Yeah. First of all, is there anybody that's doing a hardware project, not a coding data project? Okay. Hardware? Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to have places, obviously, for everybody to sit with laptops, work around tables with each other if you got a hardware project, or if you have a VR project. We have a VR cart if you want to check that out. In general, I'm not going to say anything. You'll see the Girls Club. Main thing is, if you require pizza every day, you're not going to get it. This time, it's not going to be takeout pizza. We have a whole kitchen. They're making meals for you. We'll also have snacks. We're going to give you, each person, a mug with this Space Girl logo that we have. A mug so that we don't go through 1,000 paper cups in the weekend. Hold on to that, write your initials on the bottom, whatever. I'll give all this again to everybody on Friday. We have a pretty cool place to work. The main attractions are the planetarium and just some nice rooms to work in. Planetarium is where we're going to have a demo of this open space software on Wednesday. So the plan now is to do a demo of the features in the planetarium. Very cool, flying through space. If you're thinking about doing a flying through space app, it's been done. Use open space and figure out something cool to do with it. So we're going to have, and those guys are going to be around all weekend to help you work with open space. So on Wednesday, we'll have about 45 minutes in the planetarium. I'm hoping that it's not really 130 people coming Wednesday, that it's going to be much less, like this is much less, so we can fit 64 in the planetarium. Then we'll all go downstairs to a big general room where a lot of your hacking is going to go on. And the same people will go through the interface and some of the technical stuff, which you can't really see when you're sitting there amazed in the planetarium. So we'll have that on some screens more like this. So you'll get the idea. When we told people we were building a girls' club, they said, "Oh, that's nice." No, it's not nice. It was next to impossible to build anything in New York. This is a fantastic facility, and amazing, incredible women running it. I'm one of two dudes that are allowed to be there, but we're going to fill it with all you dudes. So that should be fun. Most of the place is concrete floors, kind of like this, but in the planetarium, there's carpet, so you might be napping there. And also very comfortable seats. You can lean back and take a little cat nap. But I hope you're not all staying all night long, but who knows. So that's about it. You'll see. We'll take care of you. If you have any questions, look for me or look for Joe. Joe knows the ropes as far as hackathons. I know the building and what's available. I'll give you a handout with a map of the building. There are 3 floors. Certain rooms will be available to you guys. Our girls will be around on Saturday. Some of our high school girls, they come in every Saturday. They'll have their own activities, but they'll have lunch with everybody. So they'll have girls' club stickers, chat with them if you feel like it. And this will be pretty cool. So I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you either Wednesday or Friday or both.
All right, we got one last announcement from Jolie, and then we'll let everybody head out.
Yeah. Well, as he said, I videoed every space app since 2012, since they started. And if you Google around, you'll find that stuff. And, they say if you don't remember the past, you're condemned to repeat it. So you might want to just go there and find out what people had a go at. Or maybe there are projects there that people did that could be developed and so on. And I remember my favorite one was I think the first one, when someone made this balloon that had sensors and it could see where it was going, and it kind of cruised around, the place, and they had first-person view of it, and they were just cruising around on this balloon, looking at what everybody else was doing, but it was kind of autonomous. It was a very cool thing. But going to what Joseph was saying about the story, this week I was streaming an event out of the Arctic Circle, and they were talking about indigenous youth and advocating for indigenous youth. And there was something that Deb Socher of Next Century Cities said, which was that data captures the mind, but the story captures the heart. And that's something to remember when you're doing your demo. Okay.
Thanks, Jolie. And like you said, all of our past presentations back to 2012, I believe, all demos, all boot camps, everything is on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/spaceappsnyc. Go check them out. We got lots of hours there, so it's definitely something to look at. That's all we got. Thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll see you on Wednesday or Friday.